I just generated $13,825 revenue and $8,825 cash collected in a 1 week launch for just one of my clients. Now, just so you know I'm not making these numbers up, here's the exact numbers for the cash collected from our payment processor. This is a screenshot from Fanbases. And here is a screenshot from our Google tracking sheet showing you the exact digits of the revenue, the cash, and the cash after fees. Now, my name is Tyler Carver. I help online coaches and consultants scale their info product business. And in this video, I'll be breaking down exactly from A to Z how I structured this launch, how we prepared for the launch, and how we executed this launch. All the way from market research, to building out the offer, to building out the funnel, to the whole sales system, all the automations we used, and how we actually onboarded these students and then started fulfilling. So, first, market research. Now, market research, people either completely overlook, they don't do enough of it, or they miss it completely. Now, market research is probably the most important part of the whole process, but I'll break that down in a little more detail just a second. Now, for the market research, we decided to go through Instagram and Typeform. Now, some people do advise getting on calls, and sometimes, that is the best way to get market research. But we were dealing with quite a large audience, so I decided that we would go with the more volume approach of getting more answers, because obviously we can't get on calls with everyone, but lots more people are going to fill out, a form or reply back to an Instagram story with answers, etc. So the first thing we did, we put up a bunch of polls on the Instagram stories. We've all been trying their different ways to scale up. What have you been doing to try grow your eBay business? So we're trying to find out what people are doing now, what they're failing at, what bottlenecks they're running into. And be honest, how much time and money have you invested trying to grow your eBay business? Obviously, with courses, tools, or hours watching YouTube. Again, we're trying to find more pain points, trying to see, if this audience is actively investing into information products. And then finally, we did the last poll, old picker when I first moved out the old garage into my first warehouse setup. How long have you been selling on eBay? Again, just to get a gauge of the sort of experience level of the audience. From there, we pushed all these people into the Instagram DMs. So I was going through, seeing who engaged, and then I actually started asking them some more in-depth questions. So I was finding out how long they've been reselling, what niche they were selling on eBay, how much they were currently making on eBay, what their biggest roadblocks are, and any sort of additional info. This is just what they said, I'm building upon those answers. The second type of market research on Instagram is we're pushing people to a form. So again, we wanted to kind of spark some curiosity and hype for this next launch. So we said, been working on this for some time now, opening up very limited spots. If you want early access and to help me perfect it, click here. Free resource at the end that I usually charge for. Again, just to get those extra, wave of people that are coming in and giving us market research in return for that PDF, it was a PDF with, like I said here, 500 clothing brands that sell for $25 and up. Now again, people like to follow the pack. If they can see people are doing it, they usually, opt in and do it themselves. So we already got 200 plus responses, and the patterns are insane. It takes 2 minutes to fill out, and you get access to my private launch waitlist. Again, giving people the free gift and also people early access to this offer. We put out one final story promoting that at the end of the week, saying spent 3 hours analysing responses last night. Mind blown by these responses. Every single one is being taken note of, so I can build something great, plus improve my content. And again, we just showed some of the answers people were doing. People, like to follow the crowd. So from there, we pushed them to a Typeform, and we integrated Google Sheets, which, doesn't require any crazy automations. You can just go on Typeform and connect it directly to Google Sheets. So we could collect all their responses and sort through it. And also we've got the contact details, so we can follow up when it comes to actually launching. Now, these responses shape the offer and the messaging and are super important, and I'll explain how. So, first of all, I asked how long have they been reselling on eBay. Again, we want to get an idea of the sort of experience level. Next is what age group do you belong to. Next is we want to figure out the demographic who we're talking to. Obviously, this depicts the language we're going to use. As you can see, the audience we were dealing with is a lot older, so we see them differently, opposed to, if they're a younger audience. Next is what's your main goal with your eBay business. Obviously, this figures out the desires and the goals, and this is going to shape primarily the whole promise of the offer. Next is what's holding you back from achieving that goal. It's figuring out people's roadblocks, shapes the deliverables of the offer, and what the offer exactly is going to solve. If we see a super common problem, we're going to hit on that a lot more within the marketing, and when we're talking about the offer, we're going to hit on those points specifically. Next is how much are you currently making with eBay reselling. Again, we're getting an idea of the experience level of the audience. How much do you want to be making monthly with your eBay business? Again, figuring out desires and the goals. This can be part of the promise. Obviously, if these people, are only looking to make 5K a month, we can make the promise, get to minimum 5K a month within this time frame. Finally, how much do you have currently available to invest into growing your business? And this is obviously going to determine or help determine the price point of the offer. We want to find out how much money this audience has to invest roughly. Obviously, this is never going to be perfect, but it can help start getting an idea with the pricing, because sometimes pricing can be a difficult thing to figure out. Now, within this market research, we're trying to figure out two primary things: the core demographics and the core psychographics. So the difference is, with your demographics, it's who someone is, their age, gender, location, ethnicity, their income level, the education level, their family size, what job they have, are they full-time with eBay or are they employed? These are the facts that you can actually count and measure. And psychographics, are where they are and what they are like, what their values are, what their lifestyle and attitudes are, what their goals and desires are, what their pain points are. When you have this information, you can create a no-brainer offer and a campaign that is tailored and talks directly to your ICP, your ideal client profile. Now, next is the offer creation. Now, all you do is create the offer around what your audience has asked for. You supply the existing demand. Now, the problem is it can take months to pre-build material, have a killer proven offer, have in-depth market research. Obviously, the market research we talked about here is only over a couple of days. To actually get full in-depth market research, you need to work with your students. You're also launching a product you think people will want, and you're using a system that has not yet, been proven and tested. And most importantly, when people go to buy an offer, they want proof of the product. That is why I like to go over something called the MVP launch, and that's what we used for this offer. Now, all the MVP launches is you're helping your students go from their current situation to a desired situation, with the bridge being the MVP. Now, I say this because that's literally all it is. Nothing more, nothing less. You're literally giving them what they need to get to where they want to go, and after that, you can start to build around it. Now, like I said, it's a simple one-to-one coaching offer. The offer is plain and simple. One-to-one coaching to help your students get from their current situation to their desired situation. High ticket pricing, obviously this offer is super high access, therefore you can justify charging a high price point for it. Extremely limited spots. Obviously, if you're selling one-to-one access, you don't want to oversell and have zero time. You need to sell enough spots where you can give each student the time they need and not be stuck on calls every single day. And then real scarcity and FOMO, so fear of missing out. Obviously, people will never have this level of access again because the creator, the client, his time is capped. You won't need to run a huge campaign, as this alone will sell most of the offer. Now, what do you actually get out of the MVP? First of all, you're getting golden market research. We're getting paid for the most in-depth market research possible. You'll never know your audience's situation, their problems, their pain points, their needs, better than actually working alongside them and hearing it directly. Obviously, you can only find out so much from market research, but nothing compares, when you're actually in the trenches and working with them. Next is easy offer and material creation. Obviously, while working with these people, you'll see what they need to get to their desired situation. You can turn it into reusable course, material, education, assets, lead magnets. Obviously, if you're working with these people day to day and they keep asking, one repetitive question, or they keep coming into this one problem/roadblock, you can start to build material focused on that. And obviously, the material building is going to be easy because it's still going to be fresh. It's going to be top of mind. Instead of just guessing and creating, you just supply the existing demand your audience already has. This literally saves you, building a course, taking a month, 2-3 weeks building out a course just for people not to need, 50% of it. Obviously, you get the best type of proof. After working with these people, you'll have strong client testimonials even before your first launch. Like I said here, you'll have proof of product even before launching it. And that is the one thing that sells coaching, that sells info. People want to see it's worked for others just like them. Next is you get the ability to scale fast. Obviously, after finding out everything you need to help your students, you can step back a little bit. You can put systems in place for future students to go through. Obviously, a course, structured calls week to week, templates. You can also implement other coaches to take the workload off. You might have a performance-based coach. You might have niche down coaches within your niche. And then finally, you get a straight answer to your audience heat. This is the highest amount of access your audience will ever receive, and it will be marketed that way. If these spots don't sell out, it's for sure a traffic heat issue and your content just isn't attracting the right people. Now, for our offer, like I said, it was an MVP. It was super simple. It was just 3 months of support, so 90 days, 12 private one-on-one calls with David, so weekly calls, weekly private group mastermind sessions with the whole group, direct WhatsApp access 24/7 so people could message David whenever they want if they had a problem that was top of mind and he'll get back to them. Done for you systems taken directly out of David's business, and a couple of more exclusive bonuses that I won't get too into depth right now. But like I said, it was super simple. We're just primarily selling access to creator. So next is the funnel. And the funnel is literally, it gets thrown around, the word gets thrown around a lot in this space, but all it is, it's a journey your audience goes from first hearing about you to purchasing something from you. Due to the time frame of this launch, and this being an MVP launch, we did not build out, like a full web funnel like you're used to seeing. And I'm not going to really be focusing on the content and the traffic sources, but mainly on how we actually converted this traffic. So for this launch, we literally ran a simple IG funnel. So we took people from Instagram into the Instagram DMs, we pushed them to a form, like the market research, and then we booked them on calls. Now, for Instagram, we primarily focused on Instagram stories. Now, Instagram stories are king because instead of, putting out a post and doing a CTA, this is going to, warm and cold audience. People that are watching your stories are just warm leads, they're people that follow you. They probably follow you on all of your platforms or, most of your platforms. They've seen your previous stories. They watch your content. These people are just a lot easier to sell, than your average, if you put out a post in CTA, this might be someone's first time seeing that post. Now, for the pre-launch, we did, some super simple stories. Monday, August 18th, but tomorrow it begins. Not sure why when I screenshot this, it presents it as right to left, even though the stories go left to right, but you'll just have to bear with me with that. Next is, you've been flooding my DMs asking about my recent stories. The truth is, I've been working on something I call the eBay scale system. Now, this is our unique mechanism for the offer. 10 spots, real scarcity, tomorrow, 11 PM PST, create the urgency, get people ready. Now, through the launch, usually you wouldn't do, more than one full sequence per week, but because this offer was brand new, the creator never offered something similar, and Instagram was our main source of traffic. We decided to hammer Instagram stories for this week. In future launches, we won't be dropping more than one story sequence per day, as we don't want to dry the audience out. So the first sequence we used was a launch open sequence. Finally, open up 10 seats for the program. This is for serious eBay resellers, calling out the ICP, stuck at 1 to 5K per month who want to scale to consistent 10K per month. How do we know to put this? Again, from the market research we did. I will help you with the entire process from A to C personally, the eBay scale system, our unique mechanism. Now this is all, pain points. This is pulled directly from the market research. The truth is, you're probably drowning in manual listing and inventory management, inconsistent profit margins, no clear path, and treating your eBay store like a side hustle instead of a real business. This is the core transformation we're promising to help people, grow from side hustles, people doing it on the side from their job, and actually turning it into a full-time thing, into a real business. Now, here's what changed everything for me. I built systems to run my 7-figure operation, the same systems that let me take 11 days in Cancun, while my business generated $500 plus daily. For the first time ever, I'm sharing these exact systems with 10 serious sellers. The actual systems, supply connections, and profit optimization strategies I use right now. Not just another winning products course, which is, a lot of what the market sells, and not the basics you can find on YouTube. If you're already doing 1K plus monthly, again, we want to push out those beginners for this offer specifically, and you want to see how I systemize my way to 1.2 million in sales, massive social proof, DM me scale, 10 spots only, doors close at Sunday, 11:50 PM, 11:59 PM. Again, scarcity, urgency, all in this one sentence. This is for established sellers looking to scale, not for beginners looking for get-rich-quick schemes. Again, a tiny bit more friction just to push out the beginners in his audience, as this offer was primarily focused on the people that, have made their first couple thousand and they're stuck and they want to scale, as, this is what we found out within the market research. And this is the exact people, my client David was most passionate about helping right now. The purpose of this was to generate initial awareness and excitement for the offer. It focuses on creating intrigue and positioning the opportunity as exclusive and valuable. And the sequence is designed to capture attention, get the best prospects to raise their hands, not being too salesy, and it plants a seed and creates, most importantly, fear of missing out around the opportunity. So next, around mid-launch, we ran something called a shame sequence. Now, you're stuck. Here's why. Your revenue remains the same. You're following the same routine, and the same results come back. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm not sure why it's being shown as right to left, as, Instagram stories go left to right. That's why the arrows are pointing the wrong way. But again, that's not important right now. I'm working a 9 to 5. I don't have the time. I don't have enough space to sort inventory, and the items I source in my area are poor quality. Again, these three things particularly came up a lot when, finding out what people were struggling with: time, space, and sourcing good inventory. The sellers doing $20,000 plus per month had the same problems. They just took a different approach. Calling out the audience hard now. You were stuck because you're scared to change. While you're thinking about it, me and considering options, me and others are hitting record months. The key is you need a system. If you're already doing 1K per month with eBay, I want to see how I systemize my way to 1.2 million in sales. The ME system, again, a pretty similar ending towards the last one, just to push out those beginners and make sure the right people are replying back to the story and going into the Now, the goal of this shame sequence is to spark urgency by making people face reality. It uses discomfort, to push you into taking action by making the cost of doing nothing crystal clear. It's not so about being cruel, being mean. It's more so about, creating that mirror effect, that mirror moment, so you can truly see where you are. The goal is motivation through truth and not through actually shame. It works by making do nothing feel worse than doing something. And again, this story is made to make people feel massive pain, to make people realize where they are, and the reason they're not moving is on them for not taking action, for not doing the things they know they need to be doing. Again, this sequence, I wouldn't recommend doing often because, you can't have some people take it the wrong way. But the people that do take it the right way, it can be extremely powerful. Now, the last sequence we launched was, a closing sequence, just, to push people into the funnel right before the offer ends. Tonight it ends. Most eBay sellers are trapped in a cycle. You're not building a business, you're building yourself an overworked job, which, most of his audience were doing. They were treating it like a hustle, not like a real business. Tonight I'm closing the doors for my eBay scale system, one-on-one mentorship. This program will not be repeated. The time I'm putting in just isn't sustainable. The goal is to take 10 stock sellers, help you get to $10,000 to $15,000 months. How? I'm going to help you turn your at-home hustle into a systematic business that works for you 24/7. Take you from the mindset hands-on operator to eBay business owner, using the exact systems that took my business to over $1.2 million in sales. It does not matter if you've been stuck for months, you don't have a ton of time, you don't have a ton of space, you've tried and failed before. All these problems have solutions. I'm going to show you a way around that so you have zero excuses. Again, finish up like the others. If you're making over $1,000 per month on eBay and you're on the exact system that took my business from 0 to 1.2 million in sales, the ME system, doors close tonight. Established sellers looking to scale, swipe up before 11:59 p.m. to secure one of the final spots. Obviously highlighting that there's hardly any spots left now, so we're just pushing those last people over the edge. Now again, the purpose is to create final urgency and capture any remaining qualified prospects. We're going to convert all the fence sitters that are thinking about it and create maximum urgency before the opportunity disappears. This sequence assumes maximum familiarity with your offer and focuses purely on conversions. It's designed to push qualified prospects over the edge and create genuine urgency around the closing deadline. Obviously, like I said, there was a couple of people that got on a call but didn't close that saw this, got booked on a second call and closed then. And obviously we're talking to the people that didn't have a first call but they just sat on the sidelines and they're not taking action. Like I said, we're not lying. We don't have many spots left, and the offer does close at 11:59 p.m. So that's the 3 stories we used to generate the traffic. We also mentioned in a post, 3 spots left, finished with massive scarcity, and we got tons of CTAs from this post. But like I said before, the CTAs, the people that were swiping up and getting pushed into the funnel, weren't the most qualified. But again, we did have some people that were. Now, obviously, people see these stories, they see this post, and they CTA the keyword. From there, we push into the DMs. Now, instead of doing what I did before on the market research, I'm actually going to open up the Typeform and show the exact launch form we used. So here is the exact Typeform we used for the launch. Fill this out to see if you qualify for the eBay scale system one-to-one coaching with David. Warning, you will receive a phone call if your application is approved. We did this because we didn't allow people to book a call from here. We actually had people fill out the contact information, fill out the form, and from there, our setter actually, which was me, called them up, qualified them, and then booked them on their closing call. 10 spots available, US only, again, just to filter out those people. So our first question, like market research, how long have you been reselling on eBay? Again, just to get a gauge on the experience level. What you're looking to get out of my mentorship? This question is super important. I like to ask it a lot. I like to ask it here. I like to ask it, when I'm doing market research, when I'm onboarding people, because we want to know exactly, what these people actually want from you coming into this mentorship. Like I said before, all you're doing is supplying existing demand. If people are repetitively saying one thing and it's not on the offer yet, we're going to bring that into the offer. Contact info is contact info. You know how it works. It's just so we can reach out to them after. How much are you currently making per month for eBay reselling? Now, we didn't want to work with people on this offer specifically this time, that we're doing under $1,000 per month, because that's who we sort of classified as they're in the beginner stages. So from here, we push them to an ending page. Everybody else, we progress to the next question. If we can help you hit your eBay goals, how much do you currently have available to invest into your business with this program? Obviously, our minimum requirement for this program was over $1,000. So anyone under that, we push them to another page, basically saying, if you're reading this, this means you told us in your application that you currently don't have the funds set aside to invest into the eBay scale system. No worries, that's completely understandable. But if for some reason you were not being honest when you filled out the Typeform application, a lot of people do this sometimes. I don't know why, but I think, some people a little bit skeptical about putting how much money they have set aside, and you're still interested in joining the ESS, feel free to reapply, fill out each question truthfully, just making sure, everyone that does actually have the money is getting through the form. And, for the people that generally don't have the money to invest, that's completely fine, but we're just pushing them back to the YouTube so we can nurture them. Hopefully, they might fall into the funnel in a further launch. Now, if they answered all these questions truthfully, they were pushed to the final page. Your application has been submitted. Here's the next steps. Step 1, watch this quick video and be on the lookout for a call from our team, just letting them know that someone will dial them up. Me, I was dialing all these leads up. While you wait, look how I helped Tyler go from $1,000 to $3,700 in a month in just 3 weeks using my proven system while he went to school and worked a job. Again, we want people to be as nurtured as possible. So as soon as people filled out this form, we're pushing them straight to a student testimonial to nurture them for their call with David. Like I said, this isn't a super complicated form because, every question you add usually leads to a drop in conversion. I usually just ask the questions, that are necessary. That is the Instagram funnel we ran. Now, we did actually have access to some emails and a YouTube. Now, when I say some emails, we only had a couple hundred emails, so we didn't rely on this fully, but we still built out, a small launch sequence just from the waitlist we built up on the market research. Obviously, I said we put out a waitlist form, everyone's contact details, we collected an email, and then we put them through this 6-day, 7-day email sequence throughout the launch. So launch, open email, day 1, we announced what we're selling, what the key elements are, we did a close date to create urgency, and we introduced the actual offer. We kept this email on focusing, explaining the benefits, not exactly hard selling these people. Next is handling objections. We did that all the way through day 2 to day 4. The purpose is to address common objections. And the key actions is we took the 3 objections from market research, then we dedicated 1 email to each objection and just sharing a story that helps resolve that objection. Then we closed each email with a strong call to action, to apply, and we pushed them to the same form I just showed you and remind them that the urgency and the scarcity of the offer. I was closing on Sunday and we only have 10 spots. Next is dramatic demonstration emails, days 3 to 5. The purpose of these were just to highlight the program's most valuable features. The key actions were to show exactly how each feature works and demonstrate the transformation our program can provide. Again, from there, we included a CTA to push people for the close, reminding them of the scarcity and the urgency once again. That's a big part of this whole process. Next is social proof emails. Like I broke down earlier, people like to follow the pack if they can see people like them, real people, are joining. We want to share stories of people who have already purchased, explain why these people bought and how that sort of relates to these people. Obviously, if they hear, someone just like them in a similar position to them has just signed up, that might push them over the edge, so that's why we do that. We're going to push for immediate action by emphasizing that the spots are running out and they're coming to an end. Next is risk removal, eliminate by the hesitation. We want to focus this email entirely on our guarantee. We want to frame it as a no-risk opportunity and highlight that we have payment options to make it more accessible if people don't have the upfront capital to invest. And finally, we finish it with a hard close emails. We send 2 to 3 emails on the final day. Again, just to focus on creating urgency, pushing people over the edge, and finalizing sales. These emails do kind of follow a similar structure to the stories. So yeah, morning, we just did a final day announcement. Afternoon, reminder of the urgency, how many spots are left, what time the program's closing, and we did an evening last call with a hard close, just basically shut off the program, push those final fences over the edge. Now, we did actually have a YouTube channel to utilize, but we didn't on this launch as we just didn't have content planned out and we didn't have a full funnel built out. Instead, we just added a link to the form in the top line of the description, for short description for the videos that were posted that week. Now, next is the sort of sales system we ran. So when people were filling out this launch form, I just went through a review. Again, like I said, we just automated it. It's pretty simple. You just connect Typeform to Google Sheets, and it's just going to put down everyone's responses. I would then go through this Google Sheet and I'd highlight people that were qualified and not qualified. People that were qualified, I'd call them up, just dial them 3 times, get them on the phone. If not, I'd, send them a message and get them on the phone later. The whole point of this call is a setting call. Now, I was just running all these setting calls myself as, we didn't want to outsource because it's only 10 spots and we felt like we didn't need to for this launch. So on the setting call, all I was doing is I was re-qualifying, making sure, the responses they put on the form were accurate. I'd dive, briefly into their situation and the desires, a little bit of discovery, just to, get the key information. Financially qualify them again, make sure they generally do have the money to invest. I don't want to be getting people on the call with our closer that don't have money to invest. I booked them on their second call, and then I'd note down all the important information after my call, and I'd put that on a doc and send it to my closer so he can, can get a little bit of ammunition to close that person. Next is the closing call. Now, I don't really want to go too in depth about a closing call. That probably deserves, a whole video in itself, the whole closing process. But again, they'd get a closing call, the closer would go through the closing script, and then the closer would close. So yeah, that's the sales process. Now, it sounds super simple, but it kind of goes hand in hand with this stage, the automations. Now, for the automations, the CRM we used was Go High Level. Now, this is our pipeline, and like you can see here, I've had to blur it out and give you an idea of kind of what it looks like, as I don't want to leak any lead information like their full name. So on the pipeline, we have these stages. So we have Typeform application, needs dialing, no answer, text and dial them again, unqualified, call booked, call confirmed, no show, call cancelled, no close, split closed, and PIF closed. Now, these are the stages we move leads along throughout this whole process. For the automations, I used Calendly, Zapier, and ConvertKit, obviously hand in hand with the CRM on Go High Level that I just broke down. So the first stage was Typeform, GHL, ConvertKit, Discord. Now, I'll quickly break down why I keep saying Discord. Discord is where we basically did our team operations hub. So any, pipeline stage, it notified the Discord. Every time someone paid, it notified the Discord. It was just a way to keep me, my client, and the small sales team we had informed on what was going on. So yeah, like I said, the first automation was Typeform completion. So that is the launch form that I went through just before on the sales system. So when they completed this Typeform and they were qualified, it moved them to the GHL pipeline. So that would be Typeform application needs dialing. It also added them on ConvertKit, which is our email provider, basically saying new lead qualified, and it sends a note to the Discord just to say we have a new lead. So next, after I get on the setting call with them and actually book them on a call, it changes their GHL pipeline stage to call booked. They go from Typeform application needs dialing to call booked. This then adds the tag on ConvertKit, which was call booked, and it sends a notification to the Discord just letting you know that this person has booked a call or has been booked on a call. Now, on the ConvertKit, when people get added this tag, it adds them to a email sequence, basically a pre-call nurturing process, but I can go through that in just a minute. Next is payment collected, sends a notification to the Discord. Super simple. When someone pays, it sends a notification saying they paid to the Discord. Next is the onboarding process. So let's say someone, closes on a PIF or on a split, so paid in full or split pay. It adds them on a tag on ConvertKit, either saying closed split or closed PIF, and it begins the onboarding process. So a sequence of emails, which I can go through again later on the actual onboarding section. And then finally is the end of call form, which is just a form my closer fills out when he gets off the call. He fills that out and it again sends a notification to the Discord with the form details of that call. So let's go into what happens when someone books a call. Again, this is directly related to when someone calls to booked, they get changed on the GHL pipeline to call booked. It adds a tag on ConvertKit, so on our email provider, it tags them saying they've got a call booked, and that's going to trigger this automated process. So first of all, automatically they get redirected to pre-call assets. Obviously the goal is to get people on the call as educated as possible, battle common objections, respond to common questions all the way up until they're cool. What can these pre-call assets be? It could be a frequently asked questions video, it could be a student interview, and we obviously want to leverage and utilize as many wins as possible. And we also want to leverage, the creator David's story as much as possible. So throughout this journey, all the way from when they book the call to when they get on the call, we're feeding them emails, just nurturing them on all these things. Next is we have a standard email confirmation, time and call location email. 48 hours before, automatically they get an email reminder, a text reminder. 12 hours before, they get an email reminder, text reminder. 3 hours before, same again. 50 minutes before, same again. Email and text reminder, just making sure we get them to show up on that call. Like I said, while these reminders are happening, they're also getting fed emails that are more so focused on nurturing and actually building that relationship, getting them to know, like, and trust the career even more. Obviously, that's the automated actions. That's all set up. I don't have to do a thing. But then we also have some manual actions. So as soon as they book the call, manually, I add them to the client, the student, to a group chat with me and the closer. I introduce the closer to the client, and I send them a pre-call VSL that they have to watch and confirm. Now, the pre-call VSL basically just goes over who you are. Obviously, this is in the perspective of the coach, the creator, what to expect on the call, any sort of case studies. Who isn't this for? Who is this for? What specifically you do, to help them get from their current situation to their desired situation, how it works, the expectations going forwards, and you introduce the closer just to build that, trust before they get on the call with the closer, because right now the closer is just, a stranger, someone they haven't met before. Then we do a manual meeting reminder 1 hour before the call. We also do another manual meeting reminder 15 minutes before the call, and then 5 minutes before the call, we get a call link sent to the WhatsApp group. The point of doing both of these at the same time is you're just trying to nurture them as much as possible, get them all these touch points to make sure they show up to their call. Now, if they gave you contact info, you cannot waste a single lead. So if they completed the form, but I couldn't get on them a call, if they got moved to this stage, no answer, text and dial again, they're kind of in the mid zone where I can't get hold of them, but they have opted in. We just send them a sequence of emails, just, again, trying to get them to get on the phone with me so I can book them on a call. We send them a value email. We send them a CTA email, just, again, it's a call to action to get them on the call. A testimonial email, just breaking down a student previous testimonial. Another CTA email, again, to get them to book a call. Your transformation email, again, breaking down the creator's transformation in as much depth as possible. And then finally, a final CTA email, just to push them over the edge if they haven't already. Now, you need to track your performance. Your business will only grow if you track it, so every part of the process should be tracked. So if there is any problems, you can find the bottleneck and solve it as fast as possible. Obviously, if there's a low closing rate, you need to review the sales calls. If there's a low booking rate, you need to look at the traffic sources. If there's a low show rate, you need to improve, the pre-call automations, the pre-call flow, and also the assets they're receiving before. This is the Google Sheet that we use to track all of our calls, and we also used an end of call tracking sheet. So every time the closer got off a call, they went through, they filled out the form and submitted these questions. So we figured out why they didn't close, the objections they had, a follow-up date if you needed. If they didn't close on that call, we can close them on a further date. And also the call recording links. I myself, we can sit through, watch through these call recordings, figure out why these people are dropping off, why they didn't close. So yeah, that's the whole sort of sales process and the automations process. So finally is onboarding and fulfilling. Obviously, everyone to receive an effortless experience of getting into your program, receiving instant value, and then feeling special to be part of something that's bigger than them. So as soon as that call is closed and the payment's collected, automatically, I actually broke it down earlier, on Zapier, we ping them an automation, basically sending them an onboarding email saying, thank you for joining, showing gratitude straight away. And we send them an onboarding form on that same email so they can go through. They can fill out the form, and then and at the end of that form, they have an onboarding call link with the creator and coach. So straight away they can book their first call and get that instant value. We have a contract sent. This is legally just to protect both parties. Go over the deliverables, make sure everyone knows the terms. Now, as the automations are flying off, we also have some manual actions. Obviously, we send the message to confirm the first call, and then we have the onboarding call. On the onboarding call, the creator, coach sets expectations with the student, on the journey. Give them an overview of how this will all go, make sure they understand where they are now and where they want to go. They want to put a pinpoint on that exact location, and then create a custom roadmap for that, schedule the next, and then just keep checking in on progress and, making sure fulfilling a great service. Now, that's literally the only way these info products scale. The more results you get, the more case studies you get, the more trust you build with your audience, and the more money you make in return. So yeah, that's the steps we took on our first launch. Now, was it perfect? Absolutely not. But like I said, the goal was not perfection. It was more so to launch fast, to make money fast, to validate the offer, and also to get the data we need. Coming up to this next launch, we're obviously going to have more in-depth market research, a better offer, a full built-out funnel, a better sales team in place, more automations, and most importantly, we'll have student testimonials that we can leverage. So yeah, made it this far, I just want to say thank you, and if you still had any additional questions about any part of the process, I'll link my Instagram below, and you can just drop me a DM, and I'll make sure to get back as soon as possible.